Hello, I'm Andrew Dyer, and welcome to this special edition of the Roundball Report, the only show in the area dedicated to highlighting interests of the high school, college, and professional basketball teams, which play in the Washington metropolitan area. And unfortunately, my co-host Christy Scott is unable to be here tonight due to coaching commitments to South Lakes High School, but Christy will return as soon as her schedule permits. We're going to start this special edition, as if you recall, back in February, we had the family of legendary former MACKIN, University of Maryland and Colorado star Anthony JoJo Hunter, as the community was making a plea to have JoJo released so he can come back and continue to move forward with positive progress. And now I'm proud to say that the prayers and support and letters, everyone's has been answered, and Anthony JoJo Hunter is here with us, back and here to do wonderful things. And here is Anthony JoJo Hunter and the man who helped lead the plea, one of the men who helped lead the plea, who was on here before, Jesse Harrison, his brother-in-law, and JoJo. I'm proud to say welcome back to the Roundball Report and welcome back in general.
Thanks to be here, and I send out my love to all the support.
No doubt. So JoJo, before we lay the foundation for what you want to do moving forward, why don't you let the folks know about how the legend of Anthony JoJo Hunter began?
First and foremost, I'd like to thank the people at your station and my family and friends for the support of bringing me back. To start out, I guess I was, like all the other kids in Washington at this point, full of uncertainty and trying to find myself. And sports was a way at that time for me to get out. That was the plan of most kids at that time. So I used sports to help myself get an education and get the attention I need. And a friend of mine, Eddie Myers, was my mentor at that time. And had a pretty good game that landed me a scholarship. Well, maybe not a scholarship, a chance to get a chance to play at MACKIN High School. And
MACKIN's closed. You can tell the truth, JoJo. It was a scholarship. Put it this way. You went there. You don't know how I got paid. You went there.
Okay. During that time, I think I learned how to become a student athlete because MACKIN was a Catholic school. And that was the beginning of me learning how to be a student athlete. I had 4 good years at MACKIN. From MACKIN, I was awarded to get a scholarship in the University of Maryland. So at that time, I honed my skills from practice, and I still lived in a neighborhood that was up and coming. I see now that Washington has changed, and I'm back home seeing that the sports are not the same in this town, and hopefully, I'm able to make some kind of way where I can help out to kind of bring sports back to where it was when I was here.
No doubt. We're going to give you the opportunity to do that. But I knew he was going to be humble, Jesse. Now, tell it like it was about the legend that this man was one of the greatest high school basketball players that ever come through this area.
Incredible. I mean, back then, the inner high in which I played at Roosevelt, our games were early at 3:30, and we couldn't wait for that game to be over, go home and shower up so we could go and see him against Hawkeye Whitney or Billy Bryant at 7:30, and it was always a great show. And I mean, the man, he's very humble, but he's probably the baddest I've seen in my lifetime.
Right. And JoJo, some of the we can have you validate some of your legend. I mean, the story has it that back when you were coming out of high school, that you were actually approached by the Philadelphia 76ers. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I guess at that time we were playing well, and I think most of the accolades came from playing good teams like Dunbar and DeMatha, and I had some good games against them. And at that time, I think it was me and Darryl Griffin that was leading the country in good play at that time. And I got a feeler from the 76ers, and it was great. It kind of enhanced me to continue to do what I was doing.
Right. And then talk about your time at Maryland, but just talk about that era, and I'll have Jesse elaborate on. That had to be one of the greatest eras of DC basketball in your time coming out of Washington, DC high school.
It was, I think, the highlight of sports in Washington, because every team in the inner high and the Catholic League, well, really what they call now the DMV, it was a lot of great players around the city and on the outskirts. And at that time, it was good games in the summer leagues and all around the city, the playgrounds and the schools. Everybody supported one another, and I thought that was the highlight at that time.
Mm-hmm. And Jesse, talk about some of the legends that were playing back in that time.
Oh, we had so many legends. Dunbar was packed with Craig Shelton, Stacy Robinson, Bebe Doran. You had Carroll, had Billy Bryant, and Al Dutch. You had Easton with Turk Tillman, James Ratcliffe, Rodney Wright. It was just talent everywhere.
Right.
In Maryland schools, Tracy Jackson, and so forth. It was just talent everywhere.
Right, and you used to have tremendous battles against that the Mather Ball Club as well.
Well, I think everybody that played against the Mather, tried to come with their best game. It was always a good time playing against him. Morgan was a coach that, he made you better even though you was playing on the opposite team.
Right, right. And then Morgan, once you started putting up those numbers, did Morgan figure out how you didn't land over to Mather?
Well, this is a little small story. I think the Mather was the first team that I went to to try out for, and at that time Morgan had Kenny Roy and Billy Langlow, and he told me that I would have to play on the freshman team, and I wasn't. He didn't say I wasn't good enough, but he said I would have to come up the ranks. And that year, I played with Mackin's freshman team. I averaged about 30-some points, and they moved me to the JV, and then. God blessed me with, being able to be seen by the coach when a player, Dave Revis, I think he was ineligible. And Coach Harry Rest moved me up to play against the Mather at St. John's, and that was the start of my high school career.
Right. Now, of course, JoJo, but your game, you had unlimited range. So you just drool at how many numbers you really would have put up if there was a three-point line when you were playing in high school?
Well, it would have been a lot. I had a lot of attempts and not many assists. But it would have been a lot of, I put in a lot of practice to kind of perfect my shot. So I just took what the opposition gave me.
Right, right. And you look, because you were like a man ahead of your time because you were around, you look is like you were Allen Iverson before Allen Iverson, meaning that you were a two guard and a point guard's body, but they tried to make you into fit the mold back then, and then 20 years later, Allen Iverson, they gave him the green light, and he had a great career.
Yeah, he did. As a matter of fact, I was looking at a tape today, and Iverson scored a lot of points in the playoffs against Toronto. But at that time when I was playing, like I said, the practice that I was doing, shooting a lot of shots, it helped me to get to my spots in the game. So, I kind of perfected it during the games.
Right. And Jesse, you can tag onto a little bit about how we connected through our good mutual friend Harold Bell and about the triumph, all the efforts and the prayers and efforts that led us to have this legend back in our midst.
Absolutely. Mr. Bell was instrumental in getting some large people like your Dave Bing and James Brown from the NFL and amongst us all of the ball players as well. And we all sent letters to the judge, to the parole board, and they brought him on home.
Right. And JoJo, when they were on before, I said one of the things we talked about is like, okay, we're blessed, extremely proud to have you back with us, but we wanted to make sure that everybody was there to support you to make that transition back, to do positive things and to make your step forward. Talk about how that process is going for you right now.
The transition is going good. I got support from former players, Ernie Graham, Michael Tucker, Kevin Tatum, Chip Austin, my cousin Gary Johnson, my fiance Dr. Tippy Spann, Harlan and Jesse. There's been a host of people that has helped me, and I didn't expect it, but it's been great, and I'm looking forward to doing the best I can to make the transition good, not only for myself, but using my experiences to help other kids that might be going down the wrong path.
And without a doubt, and JoJo, you were actually doing that before, because Chip and I, that was how I first met you and got exposed to you, was when we were collectively running the Midnight Basketball League, a league that was designed to help guys that basically basketball had used them to kind of use basketball as the hook to get them back and channel into positive things. So you want to continue to do things like that, try to use your benefit as a former great player to help the guys say, hey, there's a more important game, a game of life to try to prepare you for?
Definitely. Like I said, I think God put me in a position now to be an example, to give back and to share my experience. And I'm humble about my game, but I'm also humble about what happened to me, because anybody could go down the wrong path. And I think the example that I have right now, I want to share it, whether it's through a nonprofit or share it through going to schools and talking to kids. I think that's a gift God gave me now.
And Jesse, I mean, one of your avocation is that as a police officer. Talk about the benefit that you think that JoJo could have, especially when so many guys that are the young that you see day in and day out.
Yes, I mean, I've seen it, since I was a teenager myself. So many great athletes go the wrong way, and he will be a large asset to the youth out there today, and just be hopefully he will keep someone from going down the wrong path.
Mm-hmm. And JoJo, one of the things that Jesse, we were talking about before we got on air, not only we might not have the video of you as a legend, but he said if you can still take them out on the court now if they're doubting your skill, if they're doubting the legend.
Well, at this point, I still got a few fundamental moves that I'm using, and so far they're doing well for me.
And they say the jump shot you never lose that.
Well, you never lose a jump shot. I can't jump as high, but I know where
but
the basket
is still there.
Right.
Yeah. And Jesse, talk about the leagues you're playing in. One of the things that you said that you were able to get your ring back with you just
Absolutely.
in time.
Well, they raised or they took away the rule that you couldn't add anyone before the playoffs. So he came home just in time. We put him in the starting lineup, and he led us to the championship at the Fort Washington League. So we're looking forward to him playing with us in the DC Legends League and starting up in September.
Right. And JoJo, you were talking about Ernie, and that's what, I grew up, my oldest brother came out of St. Anthony's in '74 with the John Thompson crew, so I grew up was going to games, and I remember seeing yourself and Duck and Ernie Graham and those guys. Just talk about people that didn't get a chance to see that generation that, like my father always said, Ernie was Magic Johnson with a jump shot before Magic Johnson.
We've been friends for 35 years. When Ernie came to Maryland, I showed him around campus, and he's from Baltimore. And we both had an offensive game, and Ernie is a humble guy. I stayed there at Maryland for 2 years. We remained friends after I left and went to Colorado. We played overseas together. We was in Argentina together. We was in Spain. So we've been in touch. When I went to prison, Ernie was one of the ones that stayed in touch with me. He was the one that came and picked me up and been a great supporter, and we pretty much talk every day. So he's a real friend.
Yeah, and Jesse, those guys, that group. I mean, because they had you, Billy Bryant, Turkey Tillman, Brian Maggick, all in the same recruiting class.
Yeah, I think our practices were better than the games. Very competitive.
Yes, if you remember, Ernie scored 44 against NC State.
Right, without the three-point shot.
Without the three-point shot, which maybe it would have been 60.
Right, because Ernie had in the gym range.
Absolutely.
He had in the gym range. Well, guys, we're going to go to a quick break, and on the other side, we're going to continue our conversation about the future of legendary basketball star Anthony JoJo Hunter, as he, Jesse, and I will be joined by the one and only Coach Butch McAdams via telephone. So stay with us.